Welcome to tonight's podcast with Ryan Sean O'Reilly, David Wilkinson, and Richard Mell. This is There Is No Deodorant in Outer Space. Now, let's begin.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of No Deodorant in Outer Space. I'm Ryan Sean O'Reilly, and with me tonight is David Wilkinson.
Hi.
Richard Mell.
Good evening.
And a special guest, Michael O'Reilly.
Good to be here.
Michael O'Reilly, independent filmmaker, and also happens to be my cousin.
Of course. It's a great feeling.
Neither one of those things has been that much of an honor, but let's go on.
So disparaging,
says you. Oh, hey! Okay. Alright, sorry. Nothing against Mike.
Okay, Mike, why don't you just give us, our audience, a brief intro into you and your interest in science fiction, fantasy, and books and movies and stuff. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, yeah, basically, obviously, I have an interest in movies, being a indie filmmaker myself. Made a couple of short films, 3 short films. I actually have another one in production right now, shooting next month. And heard about your podcast, like it. I've listened to every single one of your episodes, love them. I've actually read some of the books now that you guys have actually covered, and books are good. So,
what's your favorite science fiction fantasy movie or book?
Well, the movie would have to be Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, and I think you guys need to cover that on the show.
Hey, what year did that come out? Was that the 79 one with Donald Sutherland, or is it a different one?
That would the original 1956 version, Don Siegel version. It's great.
Oh, okay. I think you were also telling me the other day that you're really into Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton.
Love it. Actually, and it's great because your show has actually led me to reread a lot of these books, and I actually just reread Jurassic Park. It's great. It's a great read.
I think statistically we're responsible for 0.08% of an increase in literacy in the on the national scene.
To be very honest, right now, I'm completely inclined to talk about Jurassic Park for the next hour. I've read the book, and it's probably one of my favorite movies. And I watch it probably once every couple of months. They're making a 4th one too. It's coming out. I think
that's the rumor.
Next summer.
Trevor Tavaro directing it.
Yeah, that should be interesting.
Exciting.
Very
okay.
Cool.
Well, unfortunately, that we're not reviewing that this month. This month, we are actually reviewing I Am Legend by the author Richard Matheson, and 3 movie versions of this book. I Am Legend, that was directed by Francis Lawrence, starring Will Smith, in the movie Omega Man, directed by Boris Sagal and starring Charlton Heston, and The Last Man on Earth, which was directed by Ubaldo Ragona and Sidney Salkow, which starred Vincent Price. So this is a double episode, double your money for the same amount of time, hopefully. Let's start off with the author, as we usually do, Richard Matheson. Rick, why don't you tell us about him?
Richard H. Matheson. This guy was a prolific short story writer, screenplay writer, whatever he could do to kind of make a buck out there. He was born in New Jersey, went to the University of Missouri, settled down in Los Angeles, and quite accomplished as far as, you wouldn't really classify this guy as a fantasy or a sci-fi writer. He's more of a horror writer, but what he wrote here in I Am Legend could be considered technically science fiction fantasy, just because he does integrate quite a bit of biology here with the main character's kind of odyssey with teaching himself how this bacteria has created a bunch of vampire zombies who end up ruling the world. But Matheson is just basically quite a professional writer. He's had a lot of influence in this realm. He's responsible for creating some of the most memorable Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah, I saw online that he did Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is probably, Wilk, you were telling me, it's probably one of the most memorable episodes. It's the one starring William Shatner, and there's like a gremlin on a plane. And
they also redid that up in the big movie in the 80s too with John Lithgow. So it's kind of a double whammy.
It's a great episode.
And The Simpsons parodied it.
Right.
which makes it immortal.
I've had nightmares about that gremlin for, at least a couple of dozen nights. It was, that was a crazy scene, just watching the guy kind of going crazy, thinking that there was a gremlin out on the wing of that plane. But,
And you could, side note, you could smoke on planes back in those days. Which was interesting.
damn
And
sure.
side note, I mean, oh yeah, sorry. Well, I think the real fear.
Side note.
I mean, well, the brilliance of that story, the subtle fear was, I think, clearly Shatner and Lithgow were afraid that he was going to, molest them. I mean, there was lust in his eyes that came through, and it's like, not only are you in a plane and you might crash, but you're going to be ravaged by some gremlin all the way down. I mean, that's what I got.
I didn't pick up on the ravishing.
No, I mean, and you got to think like a gremlin's genitals are not gentle. They're probably very sharp and jagged.
Ball bearing.
That's not proven.
Well, it's not. I don't know.
I'll say
nobody walks away from gremlin sex, as far as I know. I mean,
unscathed.
Well, I think in that episode of The Twilight Zone, one of the things that Shatner, I think, struggles with is he going mad or not? And that's one of the things that happens in the book I Am Legend, is the madness of the character. So it must be a theme with Matheson in a lot of his works.
Madness or just crippling depression. Because that's what I got. I mean, I guess 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But, yeah.
Yeah. But Rick, go ahead, continue.
Okay, so he's been established in Hollywood with mostly like television screenplays. He also wrote for some Star Trek episodes. I guess the one episode where
Hitchcock, I think, too.
Captain Kirk kind of becomes the good and the evil Captain Kirk. So he's got a fingerprint on many things, including, which is pretty interesting, the I Am Legend Legacy, which is Night of the Living Dead. He has, through his writing of I Am Legend, he basically inspired the whole zombie genre. I Am Legend is about vampires, but he wrote about vampires in a way that sort of objectively looked at these creatures like they were kind of like these products of bacteria or a virus.
This book is supposedly inspired Night of the Living Dead, which is directed by George Romero, and is like a huge horror cult classic.
Right.
Did it really inspire that, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Romero
directly
cites this book.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know,
God, yeah.
I remember I read a quote too where Matheson did say that Night of the Living Dead was a better movie than any of the movies actually based on this book. I just didn't know if that was like an aside or if he and Romero were talking though, because
no, Romero has cited this book and maybe one of the earlier movies. He's admitted as inspiration to Night of the Living. Yeah.
Well, Matheson likes that. I mean, he said Night of the Living Dead was the closest they came to getting this book right, which the spirit of the book, which I think is an important thing to know.
That's an amazing movie too. I was looking online. They shot it for like $120,000 and it made $12 million.
Yeah, it's gone on. Obviously, throughout the years, it's grossed an insane amount of money through DVD sales and blah 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 blah. Yeah. But it made an unbelievable profit.
Yeah,
it holds up. It's still fun to watch too. Like once a year, it's good to throw on.
Yeah.
In between Jurassic Park viewings. All right, go on.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, Rick. I was researching online and I found, I think it was on Rod Serling's website. Rod Serling, the creator and writer of the Twilight Zone.
You like going to nude beaches?
No, that was one of our previous authors.
Darn. Okay.
That Matheson was part of, like, they called it the Southern California Sorcerers Writers Group, or there's different nicknames for them. But it was a number of writers that would associate with each other, Ray Bradbury being one of them, and Charles Beaumont, and Rod Serling, and some others, and they would collaborate and write scripts.
Never heard of any of those guys.
Ray Bradbury? No. They would collaborate and write together and share ideas, and I think Matheson was known more as being more of a family guy, and some of the younger writers, I think, would go off and kind of get more
whore around.
Well, they'd get more wild and go do crazy things. And Matheson was the guy that'd show up his house and talk about all the stuff that they did, but he was a little bit more quiet and reserved.
Quite the professional.
Yeah, but they would all meet and share ideas and stuff, and wrote together on TV shows, various things.
So yeah, like he had a long and illustrious career. He really influenced quite a bit.
Stephen King, I think, has cited him.
He influenced Stephen King, obviously. But
this book, this story could be The Stand. I mean, it's kind of like the part we don't see or read about in the book. That is The Stand. I mean, 99% of the world is wiped out. Yeah. So just throw that out there. Fun fact.
I think Anne Rice also mentioned is
fuck her. Anne Rice. Damn. God. She's just fucking terrible. Those are... Oh, God.
Interview with the Vampire and
I didn't mind it.
Lestat and...
I liked Interview with a Vampire.
I did not like anything about those books.
They were huge. Rick, anything else to add about The Office?
No, this guy led a pretty boring professional life. He died when he was 87, still married to the same woman he married, so I have nothing else to add.
Last year, too. So
Last year, exactly.
Long life. All right, well then let's get right into the book. Wilk, why don't you give us a quick synopsis of the book, I Am Legend?
Okay, quick synopsis. Basically, there's one guy, and he is, as far as you know, is the last human that's not inflicted with the virus on Earth. He's a factory worker. He's not well educated, but he's pretty handy. His wife, his daughter are dead. He's being tormented at night by people that are maybe vampires that are screaming things at him through the window. During the day, he forages for food, and he's trying to find a cure. And it's probably a perfect story. I mean, I love everything about it.
It's a short story, too. It really, to me, seemed like a novella, but it's a quick read.
Not quite.
That's a quick read, though. It is. It's you get through it. You know, it's not something that requires a lot of stamina to get through it.
Yeah, Matheson really kind of goes from one kind of description to the other without kind of getting into the minutia of details. He kind of gets he stays on point, and he leaves out a lot of the BS detail.
One of the things about this book is the creatures are described as vampires, but they kind of seem like zombies. And like, Wilk, what did you think about that? Did you really think that there were more zombies or vampires or?
Well, I mean, I think they were vampires. I mean, that's the whole point of the book. I mean, he's trying to show how the legend of vampires, what were the scientific connotations behind each attribute associated with vampires, and they were the garlic, the stakes, the aversion to the cross or religious symbols, and the inability to go out during the day, all pointed to the fact that they were vampires. To call them zombies gives me the impression that you have brain damage. Maybe we're in a boating accident.
But I mean,
and never read this book.
As you would think about zombies, they act more
hard.
like zombies. They
did.
walk slow. They're kind of stiff.
Yeah.
They're not like the sexy vampires.
When you think of stereotypical vampires, you think about like these slick, smooth characters who
Grease
are
back.
out and they're completely, dexterous, and but in the book, I mean, they act exactly like the stereotypical zombie. So that's.
But in the book as well, though, they actually do. They refer to the female zombies as actually striking, seductive poses. Mm-hmm. So I mean, does a zombie try to seduce?
No, right. That's
beat
true.
it.
Or, do zombies seduce? Beat it. Thriller.
Yeah, thriller. Exactly.
They're also talking. They're not decaying. They are quick. Mm-hmm. I mean, they chase after his car. I mean, they don't. I mean, I think the zombie impression is...
Well, you say they're quick. I mean, they're not catatonic, but, I mean, he's able to encounter them in various points and fight them off.
Right, but, I mean, in the book, not the movies, I mean, they're moving quickly. They're not moving... Zombies move slower than normal. There's nothing suggesting they move slower. It's not even implied. I mean, the implication of the book is that they're...
I don't know about that.
What do you mean you don't... How do you not know about that? You just read the book! Wait, back up.
I know.
You don't know about that.
I read the book.
In the movies, they start slow in the first movie. They go medium pace in the second book, and then they're fucking like gazelles in the third book. I mean, they evolve with the time.
Movie.
I'm sorry, movie.
But
yes.
but in the book, okay, there's a scene where he runs out of gas. Not runs out of gas. His watch stops. He comes back with the car. There's nothing implying that they move slower. In fact, everything that you read there is that they move just as quick as him. Not slow. I mean, the zombie stuff you're extrapolating from the greater world of cinema. The book itself is dealing directly with vampirism in all its form. I mean,
but clearly their brains are affected, like a zombie would be, as opposed to a vampire.
Why is that clear? What do you mean?
Because they can't really, because he like one of the things he does is burn the house to the left and right of him, and he wonders why they don't do various things to just get him out. And it's because they have impaired brain functions, which is more like a zombie than a vampire. I don't think that it's
okay.
I think a lot of people say that the vampires in this book are more like zombies than they are traditional vampires.
Right. Except for all their vampire qualities.
Well,
no, I mean, not according to the mythology of vampires. Vampires are smooth. They've lived forever, so they know how to accumulate wealth and wisdom, okay? The vampires in Matheson's short story were fucking brain dead.
Yeah.
Except for the ones that created a whole society that, he was...
But, okay, that's another thing. There's different types of vampires in this. there are the ones that are, I guess, completely dead, and then there's ones that are not completely dead, and they're, I guess, at odds.
Yeah, I mean, and again, yeah. They're definitely undead, I guess, for lack of a better word. Vampires and zombies are both undead. It's a hybrid. How skewed are our perceptions of zombies and vampires based on just a shit ton of movies that were thrown at, that are thrown at us involving those two things, or books. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's the point, is that this is not a straightforward traditional vampire.
Okay. I mean, what is a traditional vampire?
Oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go, Will. Boom! Eat that!
Booyah!
Oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula had many minions that he would send forth doing his bidding that didn't think, that he controlled, much like zombies. So suck in that. Because Bram Stoker's Dracula sat in his castle and had many a minion going forth and doing things that were just banging their heads against walls, literally going after people. The head vampire.
Were they vampires?
They were various forms of vampire, but they were lesser forms. I mean, he would also have familiars. He would have people that he would send. I mean, like, there's a head vampire. I mean, even the vampires that come at the end disregard and say, these are the vampires' trash. These are just, they're mentally ill. I mean, but like, they're all part of that society. So, I mean, again, I kind of think that you're imagining Brad Pitt in English makeup, French kissing.
I'm thinking Keanu Reeves personally.
Yeah.
Another thing that Matheson does is, and he's probably an early precursor to this, is he brings, like Rick said, more science into this. And he tries to have he does have scientific reasons for the vampirism, and he goes into psychological reasons. There is some of the vampires are acting like vampires because they think they should, not because they have to. Like the ones, he makes a point to say that there are some that are afraid of crosses because they were Christians before they died. Whereas if they were Jewish or Muslim before they died, they're not going to be afraid of a cross now. So it's really, in this book, it's a disease, and he I think, as you said, Rick, is he cultivates a reason why the vampire myth exists in the first place, which was pretty cool.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Love being validated.
But I think this is one of the earlier books to do something like that, to take a more of a scientific approach to a myth and bring it, I guess, make it more modern. Well, what do you have to say about that?
I completely agree. And I think the detective nature of the book, the middle act, the middle third, where this factory worker is going to the library and learning about bacteria and using a microscope to try and solve the mystery, is reminiscent of, like, a lot of modern literature and cinema. The idea where they're going to try and get science on that ass, and that's what he's doing. He's not going to the church. He's not reading ancient scripts.
Can I cut in? Let's talk about the main character a little bit, okay?
Yes.
Morgan. What's his name?
Morgan. Robert Neville.
Robert Neville. Right.
Bobby N.
Robert Neville is kind of like a real kind of guy. He's got real problems. He's trying to deal with his own isolation and overcome sort of being alone. And he's constantly
a drunk like most of us.
He's constantly fighting the alcohol bug, and he's a chain smoker in the book. He comes from nothing. Like, he's a factory worker. He doesn't know anything about vampires or how they came to be, but through his own curiosity and industriousness, he learns about viruses and germs, and he kind of gets to develop as a human being to kind of understand all this and almost play a part in trying to find a solution to all of this. He fails, but...
Well, yeah, he becomes, like you said, his background is a factory worker, a plant worker, but then he becomes like a scientist by going to the library and just reading books. Now, in the book, they build a lot of time in for him to do this, but what did you guys think that was believable? Did you think it was kind of,
I thought it was very believable because, I mean, he got frustrated. He didn't know what he was doing, but the thing is, he has nothing else to do. This is
exactly.
It's like a Groundhog's Day thing. I mean, where this is his life. He goes to the library, rinse, lather, repeat. And that to me, in all the movies, the three movies, didn't have the balls to do it like that. They made everybody a scientist.
Yeah, the character gets sick of his own routine that works just fine, but he gets sick of it because it's monotonous. And he's just driving himself fucking crazy, making sure that he's got fresh garlic out on the front doorstep, and his stupid generator's full of gas, and his fucking, station wagon and the garage is A-OK. Sounds kind of like the normal average 9 to 5 person who's kind of living out every day like it's the fucking same every fucking day.
The book does a really good job of getting you into the loneliness and depression of this character and how he deals with alcoholism and he deals with his base carnal desires. He misses women. You know, the female vampires are out there like enticing them with their bodies, and it drives him crazy.
Yeah. The poor guy just seems like a hustler. He would have been fine. He's like, I can't look out there. I'll go crazy. But yeah, he's referring to things like when he meets some woman, he's like, it was a year ago. I would have jumped all over her, but I don't know.
Now she's a vampire.
And now he's a cynic. Yeah, he turned into a cynic.
Rick, what did you think about the Vampire Society? In the book, at some point, the character Robert Neville runs into an actual girl, and he freaks out. It's another human. He thinks he's the only person alive, and so he goes and she runs away from him. And you wonder, she's probably freaking out, thinking if he's just another vampire. And he finally catches her and convinces her. Well, I guess I don't know if he convinces her, but he brings her back to his place, almost dragging and kicking.
Okay, well, we haven't really established the classes of vampirism in I Am Legend. There is the undead vampire and there's the dead vampire who's risen back up to life, and constantly, you're introduced to the dead vampire, which is the vampire who has died from all of their humanly qualities and become just straight up vampires. And he explains.
What's an example of that? His neighbor?
These are the people who are acting exactly like zombies, okay?
Like his neighbor, Cortman.
His neighbor, Cortman, okay? And Cortman is constantly calling out Neville's name because for some reason that part of his brain still kind of like remembers Neville. But Cortman is completely out of his mind. He's a zombie. He is a zombie, okay? But he doesn't really have a lot of mental facilities with him. He had many chances to kill Neville, but he never really did. But these people, he just runs into in the later part of the book. They were infected, but they found the solution to kind of keep them from being succumbed by the virus, dying, and then
they have a vaccine
rising
or something?
from the dead. They had some kind of vaccine they knew about, and there is actually a whole society of these people. And they've been watching Neville from the beginning. They kind of are watching the way that he is operating. And, Neville is immune to the virus. So they don't really understand that part of it. But they do.
Well, but I think importantly is that they've been watching him going around killing people. And some of the people he's been killing are vampires is people like them, the not dead vampires.
Yeah, people like them, but they're already dead. They are not dead. Okay, but that they're a little bit more organized. They have a society. They're trying to bring civilization back, and they toss out a piece of bait, which is in the form of a young red-headed woman whom they
Ruth.
Well, they're all pale because they don't like sunlight, but or they're pale for reasons because who knows, like some scientific reason that they've got the virus, but they're pale. They managed to cloak this woman in some bronze and make Neville think that she was just normal like he was, and she can withstand the sun and all of that.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That he just thought she was very tan.
Right.
Yeah, Neville thought she was tan.
Exactly, like she's been in the sun all day. So Neville ends up thinking that, she's just like me. We could be the last couple in the whole world. I've got to find this lady, because this whole time he's going out of his mind because he thinks he's the last human being left in the world. So he follows his instincts and he chases this woman, and the woman's afraid of him, obviously.
All right, so we have a step, but she's a part of the society.
She is a part of the society.
Yeah.
Not of the human nature, though.
It's this half-dead kind of vampire society. And in the book, she's been sent to spy on him. He takes her in. He wants to test her to see if she really has the bacteria or germ. And she somehow talks him out of testing her right away. And they kind of just hang out for a while. And then eventually he does test her. And as he tests her, he finds out that she is diseased. So anyways, when she leaves, she tells him, she leaves a note behind. because she said, I was sent here to spy on you. Basically they think he's an animal because he's killing people like them. He's killing the dead vampires and he's killing the alive vampires like them. And she gets empathy for him after spending time with him, and she leaves him a note, says, you know what, we're going to come back to get you, so you should go into the wilderness and hide. And for some reason, he can't do that. He decides he won't. And
He's
just
kind of stuck in his ways.
He continues to live at his house, and eventually...
Can I
go ahead, Will.
Yeah, okay, but real quick. I mean, it's like the book portrays it as if it's a big thing. Like, why didn't you just go in the wilderness and hide? Who the fuck goes in the wilderness to hide? That's the worst option you could ever have. It's like he's got a fortress here. He's got everything he has in the world. It's his home. It's his lab. It's secure. You just go in the woods. Just go in the woods and run. That seems like a bad idea too.
Population. There's the argument that you go out in the woods and there's less population, so naturally when these people are all dead, they're going to come back as zombies or vampires or whatever, and they are going to be in the populated areas, like in the city congestion. That's that argument.
I know, but there's no resources in the wilderness. You're going to die there. I mean, like, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think going to the wilderness is going to solve it.
I think so.
Especially when it's
I'm a naturalist. I mean, there's
person.
plenty of things on the forest floor that you can eat. I mean, come on.
And ultimately, it doesn't work out for him.
Yeah. The alternate ending, he eats some red berries and dies of food poisoning.
Well, you got to know what the fuck is what.
But it doesn't work out for him because they eventually do come, and he thinks they're going to take him into society and have like a trial for him, and they end up just capturing him and immediately condemning him to death.
Right.
Yeah, well, you just gave away the rest of the story. So let's move on to the movies.
Well, no, but what do we think about that?
Well, people have had since 1954 to read the book, so if they haven't,
then you're screwed.
Okay, audience, if you haven't read the book, I mean, this is my second time reading it, and my wife, if she's still talking to me, is reading the book right now. But the last chapter of the book really makes the whole thing worthwhile. It's actually a pretty well written, tightly written story. I highly recommend it. It's kind of chilling. The end. It's very original. Even now, I'd say it holds up.
Well, let's talk about talk about it. What did you think about the end, Will?
Well, I mean, I loved it when I was probably 20 when I read the book the first time, and I thought it was chilling. It was a twist that had context. I mean, it wasn't like a fuck you, I'm just going to be goofy here, and the real killer's the eagle. I don't know. Whatever. But I mean, like, if you go, it's one of those things where if you look at the way the book's written, it's not that shocking how it ends, but it makes sense. I mean, he's essentially, he's the monster. He's the demon. He is the legendary creature that's terrorizing these people. And like, one of the best lines in the book is when the woman looks at him and says, "You killed my husband. I mean, you're the killer here, not us.
Yeah.
You're terrorizing us." And then he realizes that, and he acknowledges that and said, well, this is evolution. This is how a new society is formed, and I have to step aside.
I wonder if that's kind of like a Twilight Zone ending.
Well, it is. And then I really liked her reference, though, when she said, well, he's like, well, they're enjoying the killing. And she's like, well, everybody enjoys killing. And that whole conversation there I thought was kind of cool. Yeah, it's good. I'm drinking. Go on.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much the book in a nutshell. I mean, well, interestingly enough, he actually chooses to kill himself at the end. She gives him suicide pills. Even though he's condemned to death, he decides to take his own life. I wonder what the significance of that is.
Not getting tortured? I guess that's...
Yeah, he went through definitely a lot of shit before he finally supposedly died.
He didn't want the angry mob to tear him apart. What made him make that decision?
Well, you're right, Wilk, because earlier in the book, the mob comes to his house to get him, and Rick, you talked to me about this, because this new society comes and they are just killing all the dead the alive vampires are killing all the dead vampires mercilessly, and a strange twist, the protagonist, Neville, is actually irritated by this, and he sees them kill his neighbor, Cortman, who's been torturing him, like, psychologically.
Yeah. That's his job to kill Cortman, you know? What the hell?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting, because the whole book, he's talking about how he wants to kill Cortman in some special way, and when Cortman finally gets killed, he is remorseful for it.
Right. No, I think this book had a lot of, like, transcendental elements to it. He's questioning here, are his deeds more outrageous than the deeds of a parent who drained the spirit from his child? The vampire may foster quickened heartbeats and levitated hair, but is he worse than the parent who gave to society a neurotic child who became a politician? So he's like questioning his own, where he has come from, his own society, and he's looking at this new society, and he's like, where the fuck, where am I right now? Where do I belong? He doesn't belong anywhere, but he's kind of alone. He's isolated. That's what the book is about.
Yeah. Anyone else have any comments about the book?
Read it.
Yeah.
Everybody should read it.
Yeah, read it. It's a good book.
Okay.
All right, let's get into the movie. The first movie we're going to review tonight is I Am Legend, which starred Will Smith and was directed by Francis Lawrence. Wilk, tell us a little bit about Francis Lawrence. Keep it short. It's a mini bio tonight. We got 3 movies to go through.
Francis Lawrence has made mostly interesting movies. He is doing the Hunger Games movies right now, which you've probably seen. He got to start doing videos. He's from Vienna. And I wasn't a big fan of I Am Legend, but I don't think that was his fault. He actually cut out almost an hour from the movie that featured the CGI bullshit that was the creatures in it. And overall, I like the guy, even though he kind of looks like Bradley Cooper. I fucking hate Bradley Cooper.
When you say he started off making movie videos, you mean music videos. He actually made videos for like Lady Gaga, Aerosmith, Britney Spears.
I didn't see Lady Gaga. I saw like Green Day, Jennifer Lopez,
holy commercial,
Janet Jackson. A lot of.
Did
he made a lot of music videos.
I feel Janet Jackson, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He made the movie. He directed the movie Constantine, which you brought up in the last podcast.
Yeah, and I did enjoy that movie as well. I think it's a pretty decent film. The problem with this movie though is Will Smith. I think. I don't know if we want to get.
I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Rick, can you give us a quick synopsis of the Will Smith movie? A quick synopsis in the sense of how does it differ than the book?
How's it different? Okay, the main character is the big difference in my mind. This guy, the main character in the movie, is really polished, government scientist. He could also be a freaking like tight end from the Baltimore Ravens, okay? This guy is like totally smooth. He's good with the ladies. He's a true family man. He
kind of like me.
I mean, it's just totally freaking Hollywood, okay?
Kind of like Wilk.
He does everything to just live it up in Manhattan while being the only last man in the world, okay? I mean, he's like driving off of the fin of an SR-17 or whatever the hell that Lockheed Martin plane is. He's just kind of living it up, all right? He's enjoying himself. He's got all kinds of mannequins set around. He's talking to them like he's totally normal. He's just kind of a smooth operator. Never has any kind of insane dilemma with his situation, except for the fact that, like, he starts with a dog.
And the dog in this movie is a German Shepherd, way different than the dog in the book, because this dog is actually protective of him and helps get him out of jams and stuff.
Yes, this dog is his guiding light, okay? And Will Smith's shining moment in the movie, I think, is when the dog starts to turn after the dog has been bitten by 2 vampire dogs. That's his best moment. He does a really good job.
Agreed.
In that scene with his own dog. And I think the movie's almost worth watching because of that one scene. But other than that, I mean, I think it's just kind of a sort of a well-polished Hollywood film. The main character is just this completely evolutionized hero, Jesus Christ figure, and he can do no wrong. He doesn't second think himself. He doesn't get too caught up with anything. It's just he's fucking perfect, and that's what's so annoying about I Am Legend with Will Smith.
Well, don't you think at the end they try to undercut that when they say he's finally listening to the zombies? Well, we can get into again at the end later, but
no, I don't think that.
Yeah, get on to the next movie.
Look, what do you think about the zombies in the Will Smith movie versus the book?
Well, they were just terrible. It was just a terrible movie. They were all animated. It was like cartoon time. It was Super Friend Adventure Hour for the last act of the movie. Really, there's 2 endings. The one I saw in the theater in IMAX on opening night to see the fucking Dark Knight trailer. The ending there was like, Will Smith is Jesus and jumps on a grenade and kills them all because they're horrible people. And
that's the original ending,
which was terrible. Which I mean, it was nice watching them die, but like, have you noticed how no, but seriously, have you noticed how like prominent African American actors? There's only a few of them that are at this level. Will make movies where they die at the end with a greater degree. It's like the Hollywood stereotype where they kill black guys first. It's true with leading men. Like Will Smith has died in an odd amount of movies, and so has Denzel Washington. And I kind of want to study this more, but I mean, like, there's at least 3 Will Smith movies where he dies at the end. And Denzel Washington, that's like every other movie he dies at the end that he makes.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's...
There's an alternate ending where he doesn't
specifically black actors, but...
I'm just saying,
I don't know.
With those two...
It's like Saint Will Smith.
Right.
You know, I mean, he can do no fucking wrong. And then he...
But what about the zombies? The zombies in
the zombies, we're not sure if they're intelligent or not.
The zombies in this movie are different than the book. They're actually setting traps for Will Smith.
Ryan, that's not probably the case. They probably weren't setting a trap for him.
They what?
That was probably a trap that Will Smith set for himself. That's what seriously, I don't think the zombies set that trap. I think he was losing his mind there, and he went back to that, and he was yelling at the man again. He was going
a little bit nuts there. Yeah.
You don't think the zombies?
I think it was his own trap. I think he got disoriented.
Well, I can't see it at all.
I think that's misguided. I think the zombies in this movie are different than the book, and they're smarter, and they're faster, and they're actually a more developed society, and they're hunting him more than the zombies in the book. You know, he's setting out snares for them, and then in this movie there's a twist where they end up setting a snare for him, which was, you know, a different kind of take on it.
That really bothered me though, because it doesn't match the rest of their actions. And you watch the original theatrical cut, they're just fucking animals. And even this one,
they're like banging their heads against the walls. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they've lost the English language. They've lost their any communication. If they're that intelligent, I mean, like to set those kind of traps when they actually break into his house, they're just.
That's your argument for Will Smith setting his own trap that catches himself, huh?
I don't know, but like. Okay, I'm just saying that trap is a glaring inconsistency in this movie. Maybe it could be explained better in editing. They did cut out an hour of scenes involving the CGI monstrosity monkey vampire things. I mean,
voiced by Mike Patton, singer for Faith No More.
What's that?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Dash Mihawk was the actor who played the
Mihawk.
lead zombie, and Mike Patton, the singer from Faith No More, did the vocals for all the zombies.
That's fine, but like they were all blue screen. There was no makeup, no real actors. And I'm just saying
they started with makeup though. I think originally they were going to have makeup actors, and the director didn't like it.
Yeah, he sucks. He fucking sucks. Because I mean, you could the movie was actually had a decent level of tension until those things came on screen. But like, and you could have done makeup. But then it's like I said, it's cartoon power hour. We're like, we need 40 vampires leaping over. It's like
whoa.
I've seen this fucking movie so many goddamn times. It's like Planet of the Apes. I just, but like,
I don't
trap
disagree
was
at all.
completely inconsistent with their behavior, and so like to say like
that's a good point.
They're intelligent. Well, maybe, but like, that's why I'm saying. And I actually was reading some fan theories on this where.
Well, I mean, come on, go ahead.
No, they think Will Smith. That was a trap that he set, and he was kind of having a mental breakdown. And he walked into his own trap.
That's interesting. That's a different take on. Mike, what did you think about the house that Will Smith has versus the book? And in the movie, Will Smith has like. Basically like a fortress.
Brownstone, Manhattan, freaking lab/condo.
But he's got like bombs and missiles and stuff at the ready. Whereas in the book, you know, Robert Neville just, you know, bangs nails on boards and puts up his windows and burns down the houses to the left and right of him. I mean, he's got a generator, but he doesn't have like an arsenal ready for these zombies, like the ultimate like siege. What'd you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, basically, again, it speaks for the times that the movie was made in, I think. It was, the I Am Legend movie with Will Smith was made to appeal to the modern audience who they, like Wilk kind of alluded to earlier, they like explosions, they like CGI, all that kinds of stuff. Whereas, you have, Will Smith puts garlic in a mirror on his doorstep and expects that to be the sole thing that keeps away these creatures.
It's got to be exploding garlic.
It's not gonna that's not exactly going to thrill a modern audience. It's unfortunate, I think. It's Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer type shit that it appeals to a popcorn type audience, but I don't think you could make Richard Matheson's book exactly like he did it, in the story. I don't think you can adapt that just like you could, on screen unless it's a smaller film. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. I don't know.
Anyone else have any other comments about this movie?
Yeah, I think this movie has all kinds of great elements to scare the bejesus out of some kind of unsuspecting viewer, kind of like my 5-year-old, okay? Scare the hell out of him. Right? But this movie was made for all of the desensitized. Okay, it realizes that the average American audience has seen it all as far as movies go, and kind of glorifies all of the vampire zombies with new special effects, but we're all desensitized. Who gives a shit? It's not scary anymore. I mean, it's actually kind of stupid. Put more content in the movie. I don't want this action. I want more fucking content, you know? Screw that.
And Rick, you know, when Rick's saying, it's so true though, because what's freaky about this movie, they don't need to do this. I mean, there's big things that happen that are without special effects, like when he strangles the dog. That's kind of a big moment. When that helicopter takes out his wife and daughter right in front of him. I mean, like, these are emotional things. And I was kind of with Will Smith, and I was liking the movie and the use of CGI up until the last act. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like the third act in modern Hollywood. It's just like, you lose me every time. It's like bring in the animators. It's just.
Well, we brought you kind of brought up a similar point, I think, at the end of Solomon Kane last month.
Yeah. It's very common. I mean, it's a very common trick. I mean, I don't know.
I think it worked well when he had the scenes with the mannequins, where you were dealing more with his loneliness and stuff, which is what the book gets into, and going crazy, thinking you're the only person on the planet. Although I don't know that Will Smith was the best for this role. I mean, the scenes when he runs into the girl and the boy, and he's like he's like gruff with them and abrupt, and it's like, oh well, I haven't been around humans for a while. I don't know that I really felt it like I did in the book. So
yeah,
all right. No. I think I'd read that they're talking about doing a sequel to this.
Not at all.
But we'll see what happens. All right. Anyone else? I think that's it for that movie. So the next movie we'll talk about is The Omega Man.
All right.
So The Omega Man was directed by Boris Sagal and starred Charlton Heston, was released in 1971. I'll just tell you briefly, Boris Sagal, actually, he's a Ukrainian-born American TV and film director. He also worked on Twilight Zone, Hitchcock, Columbo. He's actually the father of Katie Sagal, who played Peg Bundy. And,
oh, shit.
Yeah, and Sons of Anarchy. And for the sci-fi fans out there, she's the voice of Leela from Futurama, which was a spin-off.
She was hot, too. I liked her.
So,
Married with Children, come on.
Come on, Married with Children?
Jesus.
Married with Children!
Futurama, Married with Children.
Interesting about
Peg.
Interesting about Boris Sagal is actually he died at the age of 57 in 1981, filming I think it was a made-for-TV series called World War III, where he was on a helicopter and turned the wrong way after the helicopter and ran into the back rotor and was partially decapitated. So he actually died tragically on the set of a movie.
Oh my god.
This movie is also noted. It has one of the first or early interracial kisses between Charlton Heston and Rosalind Cash. That was the female role, and Whoopi Goldberg actually cited it as an important influence on her to see that in her life. And Tim Burton cited this movie as, he said every time he sees this movie on TV, he has to stop and watch it, and it's full of it's chock full of cheesy one-liners that probably are, predate Arnold Schwarzenegger's one-liners.
No, they're resonating.
So it's fun that way. So that's about the director and the production of the movie. This movie is different than the book in the sense that it's about the plague here is caused by a biological warfare, which causes a breakout of nocturnal albino mutants, which sounds ridiculous, but I think this movie is probably the best of
They're
the
like
three.
far from vampires, though. I mean, they don't suck blood. It's like they're just trying to set up their society, with.
They're albino mutants. Right. So Robert Neville in this movie is a U.S. Army Colonel Doctor. So again, like the Will Smith movie, he's like scientific, and again, he's immune. He got a hold of a vaccine before everything happened and was able to, weather the storm. Unlike the other movies, this movie centers around vampires being a cult, calling themselves the Family, and they are against technology because they feel like technology is what caused this plague to break out. They call people that use technology users of the wheel. And the whole plot is basically Robert Neville once again thinks he's the only person on the planet. He is living, like Will Smith, in kind of a fortified apartment building and just kind of nightly getting assaulted by these albino mutants who just it's their purpose in life to destroy him as part of their society. It's sort of like a one for all society, kind of communist leanings. And again, like the book, they have a character who comes out and finds him. Actually, and unlike the book, the Ruth character, who's Lisa in this movie, is not spying on him. He just runs into her.
But she's still running away from him.
Right. But the cult, she's not. She was part of the family, but she's not. Like the book, there's two different types of people. There's the people who are still succumbed to disease, but haven't kind of gone over to the bad side, and there's the people that are in the bad side, which is part of the family. And this ends up with Neville getting captured. They're going to have a trial for him, and they decide they're going to burn him at the stake. He gets saved. He runs away with Lisa and finds the good mutants, who are not quite turned over, and works out a serum based on his blood to try to save people. The plot continues to move on because he saves Lisa's little brother, who says, hey, we should save the others who are completely turned over in the family, the cult. And Neville says, no, I'm not going to save them, but the brother goes off and tries to do that. Backfires, they kill the brother. And kind of basically all hell breaks out, and there's sort of a traditional final showdown between the protagonist and the leader of the cult. And like the book, and like the original ending to the Will Smith movie, Robert Neville dies. But unlike the book, but part of the alternate ending of the Will Smith movie is that Robert Neville, when he dies, he ends up giving his blood to some of the good mutants to save society. And there's kind of like this hopeful ending, which is a lot different than the book. So, Will, go ahead. You want to jump in? I mean, that pretty much sums up the book.
Oh, yeah. I think anti-gun groups should take the last scene in this movie and use as propaganda, where you have Charlton Heston, head of the NRA, his gun jams, and he gets killed by a guy throwing a spear. I just found that funny on a lot of levels. I mean, really, Charlton Heston just cracked me up. I know it wasn't a comedy, but like the movie just starts. It's Charlton Heston with like a little machine gun, just blasting.
He's constantly fucking packing with an Uzi or some kind of like, semi-automatic or fully automatic submachine gun. It's crazy.
I found a lot of humor in it. Probably where there wasn't any, but like just that.
Well, you know what? Well, you know what? Well, we were talking about this where we were just watching it. The freaking music in it, that cheesy ass music. I would like to see this movie redone with better music.
God awful.
Because the music just increases the campiness of it, big time.
I can see, I can see where Tim Burton likes this movie. I enjoyed the movie; it was great. But I mean, it was. We can segue to the first movie, but like at least the cinematography was a step up, and the acting was a little bit less wooden, and. And in this movie, he actually is planning to flee to the wilderness and start a society over and try to cure people, but then he's cut short by this spear. I will father all of your kids. His gun jams, just like spear.
Yeah, there is a complete element of humanity in this movie, unlike the I Am Legend, where you have the Jesus Christ figure, and not even unlike the Vincent Price movie. I think Charlton Heston's character resonates the most with the character in the book. He's most human in this movie,
and he drinks.
Yeah,
I mean he
drinks.
Most importantly, he drinks.
Most importantly,
heavily.
Well, in the Will Smith movie, he's got no alcohol issue.
No,
I mean
he's Mr. Clean Cut. He's got no problem.
Oh yeah, he could be in the CIA for crying out loud. He could be a freaking politician. Shit, I'll vote for him. God,
Mike, what did you think about the production of this movie as opposed to the Will Smith movie?
Well, you guys made some good points with it. I think it was competently made when it first, the first 5 minutes of the movie, we have a fast motion scene of Charlton Heston's, he's leisurely driving down the street and suddenly he whips out his submachine guns, blasts away at the windows. It starts off a little odd, but I think it actually, the momentum of the movie actually builds a little better as it goes on, as opposed to getting worse as it goes on, like a lot of movies do. I think it did. It did bring up some humanity issues that were, I don't know, it was well done. The music was pretty much horrible, but
there's no CGI.
There's no CGI, but I think when the movie is at its best when two characters are interacting, are talking. Like when the Neville character and the I forget her name in the movie, but the Ruth character,
Lisa,
are basically sitting down having a drink
Yeah, I
and
like that, yes.
basically seducing each other. I thought it was a great scene.
and the mutants get to wear bad contact lenses
And cool sunglasses.
Yeah, I didn't like that. But I guess
the mutants or vampires or zombies, they were completely cerebral in Omega Man. I mean, they were constantly trying to politic into Neville's world and convince him that they have the way. They were organized. They were a civilized society, where in the book was in all of these undead vampires were kind of individual, mindless zombies. They were almost paralleled, kind of like a hippie commune cult society, where
they called themselves the Family.
The Family, exactly.
It was on the wake of the Charles Manson murders,
Exactly.
the 1971 film.
So I say that again, Wilk. Say
It
that
was
again.
on the wake of the Charles Manson murders. They brought the whole family thing in there. But, I mean, frankly, if I can just be devil's advocate here, maybe they were just albinos. They were just waiting for their chance.
Insecure albinos, yes.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're just. This is the thing they had going for years, and they just used the Holocaust of humanity as an excuse to emerge from the shadows.
Okay, I think that probably sums up that movie. So let's go on to our last movie, which is called The Last Man on Earth, starring Vincent Price, and was directed by Ubaldo, Ragona, and Sidney Salkow. Mike, give us a little background, if you can, on the directors, if there's anything available about them.
There's limited information out there on this Ubaldo Ragona. He did not direct many films. He directed actually 4. He only has 4 different productions to his credit. I guess he had some background as a screenwriter. He co-wrote this film actually, but it's not really well known how much he actually directed this film as opposed to Sidney Salkow. But Sidney Salkow has the actual directing credit on the credits of the film. So we could just probably go ahead and assume that Sidney Salkow directed most of the movie.
All right, tell us about him.
But he was a working man's director. He started off directing a lot of quick 60-minute action pictures, which were included into double build movies when they did the double feature films back in the 1930s and 40s. But 1950s made a lot of kind of B westerns. He had a long career. Made a lot of.
I saw he did some TV. Directed Lassie, and he did the Addams Family.
He did a lot of TV. He directed a lot of episodes. Addams Family, 77, Sunset Strip. He directed Lassie, probably quite a few episodes of Lassie. He directed a lot of TV, but he never really had a masterpiece. He was a working director. He was always working, but he never really made anything that he was particularly.
And this movie was actually filmed in Italy to save money, and filmed
mostly in Rome.
And filmed with an Italian cast, and the audio is overdubbed.
Yeah, completely dubbed. They did not shoot with sound, and you can tell in the production quality of it. It's there are some scenes in the film that are pretty laughable.
Me and Rick watched this in color, and I would recommend people to watch it in black and white.
I originally suggested that, but you were like, no, I want color.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch it in black and white. That's
It said updated colorized version. It the commercial sold me. I got bought into it.
You got sucked in just like everybody else back then.
It was interesting though when this movie was in pre-production planning. Richard Matheson had actually originally wrote a screenplay for this, which was actually rejected by the English censors. So he had to go back and rewrite it, and he actually rewrote it with several other people, including this Ubaldo Ragona character. But he was not satisfied with the final screenplay, the edited screenplay, so he actually changed his screen name.
Yeah, I saw that.
He did not. He penned himself as Logan Swanson.
Wasp name.
Which is actually it's a combination of his wife's mother's maiden name and his mother's maiden name, so whatever.
Yeah, I read that he took his name off, but he couldn't take it off completely because then he wouldn't get any money, so he had to just change it to a pen name so he could still get residual.
Yeah. He still wanted to see a little cash on there. And the film was not a success, a financial success, despite it having such a low budget. It still was not a success. So,
all right.
Had a profound influence, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, they say that this film might have been part of the influence on Romero when he made Night of the Living Dead.
Well, George A. Romero said it himself. He actually went on record saying that it was a direct reference.
All right. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about the film, just a quick synopsis and how it differs, from the other films and the book.
Well, I think it's the closest to the actual book, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It stays the Robert Neville character, although the Charlton Heston character in the Omega Man actually kind of spoke out loud, you got a better sense of what was going on with him inside. Though the Vincent Price version, they had over narration, which was his inner monologue, but he didn't have he had no edge to him. Vincent Price,
not at all.
Yeah. Vincent Price's character, he had no edge. He wasn't a hard drinking. He didn't look at women the way you'd think a Charlton Heston would, And the Neville character,
Vincent Price, the womanizer.
No, Vincent Price wasn't. That's the point. I think he didn't convey you didn't get a sense of his sexual drive that he had in the book.
Mm-hmm. They changed his name to Robert Morgan for no
reason.
Yeah. And he was a scientist in this movie, like I guess all the movies, as opposed to the book.
Yeah, he was a scientist, again, like the movies. For some reason, they decided to make him a scientist. So in that sense, it was not true to the book.
The next movie has got to have a montage where the main character is studying biology.
Yeah.
And getting better at biology.
That would make it more interesting, because again, this guy's got all the time in the world to sit and read books. Why not make him into a scientist eventually? I don't know.
Mike, anything else with the difference with this movie? What about the ending?
Again, it wasn't exactly like the book, but
well, in the ending in this movie, he is caught by the vampires, but there's no trial, and there's no suicide. He is fleeing from them, and there's a big confrontation in a church, but it ends kind of poignantly like the book in the sense that he says,
I'm the last one.
He says, I'm the last man alive. You're the freaks.
Yeah.
Not me. You're the freaks. Yeah. And that's kind of like what the book
alluded to. Yeah. Agreed.
In the book, they talk about there's a reversal. In the Vincent Price character, you feel like he's saying you're the freaks, but yet they're going to kill him. And in this movie, there is a Ruth character. Doesn't he save her? He gives her a transfusion and he cures her. And then they allude that he can cure everyone else, but then her people, like the book, she's been spying on him, and her people come and find him, and he's got no time to explain he's got a cure, and they just immediately start attacking him, and there's just this big finale where they chase him to the church.
Yeah, but all the movies, they have a cure, which is kind of like a big difference in the book, though, which I think is kind of a...
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, there's no cure.
Yeah, dead.
Well, that's what Matthias said in the Omega Man. There is no cure!
And he threw the spirit. Oh, God. That was a good movie.
Okay, anyone else have any comments about the Vincent Price movie, or is that about...
Richard Matheson actually was also quoted saying that he thought Harrison Ford would have made the perfect Robert Neville, which is interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Matheson did say he likes Vincent Price in his other stuff that he wrote, but he thought Vincent Price was miscast for this movie.
Miscast, yeah.
Yeah, funny story. Vincent Price is from St. Louis, which is just ridiculous. My wife and I watched, it's like, where does that voice come from? St. Louis, apparently. That's what it sounds
very
like.
Affected,
yeah.
Very affected. Strange
My
guy.
dear, I think some zombies are at the door. Let me check.
He was a gentleman. He spoke to the gentleman.
Okay, I think that about wraps it up for this month with our triple episode. So tune in next month when we're going to read the book Going Postal, which is by Terry Pratchett, and it's part of his Discworld series. And the movie, which is actually, I believe, a sort of a made-for-TV movie that was put out by the BBC, I think, Going Postal, which is directed by John Jones and starred Richard Coyle. So everyone can join us for that. Mike, you talked about your directing movie. Do you want to mention your movie? You're going to go into production next month. By the time this comes out, that'll all be done. But what's the movie called?
The movie's entitled Blink of an Eye. And it's a quick synopsis about a young couple. They have their own issues, like all couples. They are on vacation, weekend vacation with their 5-year-old child. Their child goes missing.
Okay, sounds scary.
So tune in.
Well, then I will invite everyone to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. Please write reviews. We love the reviews, especially those written by people that don't know us. And go ahead and like us on Facebook.
Genuine reviews.
Follow that. And with that, good night, everyone. Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night. We'll see you next time.
Good night.
For more information on this episode's subject matter, and to read our show notes and post your witty comments, visit us at nodeodorant.com. For more information on Ryan Sean O'Reilly and his various works of fiction, visit RyanSeanO'Reilly.com. For more information on David Wilkinson or Richard Mell, view their profiles at Goodreads.com. The theme music for this podcast was written and composed by John Doyle from the band I Decline. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you've learned a lot. Oh, and always remember one thing. There is no deodorant in outer space.
Yes, as far as it is.
Oh, so this is something I got to edit out again.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it is. Oh, all the paparazzi that listens to this. TMZ.
Okay, who's messing with their headset?
I
What?
can't hear anyone.
Rick? Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Double
Will?
check.
Hello.
Quadruple redundancy.
All right, guys, I gotta go.
Come on, Wilk.
Fine,
What?
fine,
Okay.
fine. Go on. Sorry.